All right. Give it a few seconds to load up. See what we got here. Make sure everything is working. Looks like it is working. So what I'm going to do is I better get up on here. Share this. Share. Yeah. 2 seconds, everybody. I want to make sure this is all good. Boom. Oh. I hate typing, but I'm trying to do this. Boom. There we go. Now that I've shared that, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to North Sports, where I am your host, Andrew Fulbert, and I am going to take you through a journey through all the sports news that you are going to be needing to be informed of. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of shit that needs to be informed of. First things first, sports is canceled. That's basically the highlight of this show, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get right into it. But before we do that, do me a favor. Go to my Twitter. Give me a follow. It is now North Sports. You'll see the logo up on the display picture and all that kind of fun stuff. Give me a follow. Right now, we are currently trying to hold the NBA, the Utah Jazz, and a couple other people accountable for the suspension of Rudy Gobert. If you want to know exactly what I'm talking about, go follow that. Go follow me on Twitter and you'll know exactly what I am talking about, ladies and gentlemen. That as well, share the videos for more chances to enter into the draw. What we have in the draw so far, ladies and germs, are the 2 cards from the 2 other shows. One is worth, what we checked, it was $2.08, I believe. This Young Guns here is $1.97 from what I checked. And I decided to add in a Dad Souk pack. Why not? Because we got the death of the NHL right now. We'll get into that in a second, but this is going to just be added. I don't know what's in it. I'm not going to open it. It's going to be added to the whole pack, ladies and gentlemen. And then I got one that I'm going to be opening up on today's episode. So check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fucking week. What a fucking week indeed. We have got a lot of news. I'm a little bit late because I wanted to make sure I got all the available news to get into. As much as I would like to tell you that this is going to be positive, it is not. So right off the bat that I will tell you, the NHL has suspended all operations, basically put a pause on it. The NHL is not necessarily canceled. We'll get into that in a few. But the NHL is paused. It's done. The COVID-19, ladies and gentlemen, has just ran through the major sports league. It is hard to even start on this because there's so much to get into. The one thing that you all need to know, first of all, this is no longer a joke. It is a pandemic. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm not telling you how you should think of this. The one thing that you should understand is if it's just like any other flu, just wash your fucking hands. Stay inside if you're sick. Don't go to work. Don't try to give it to other people. That's all I'm going to tell you on that. The rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. These are the major things that you need to know in sports. This is insane. So let's start off with the NHL has suspended all operations. That happened at 11:30 a.m. It held a news conference at 11:03 a.m. is when the calls began. Apparently Gary Bettman sat there. This is all from NHL. TSN, Pierre LeBrun, Twitter. I got a bunch of people that I can thank for a lot of this. Shout out to all of them. I've been watching TSN all day. They're still talking about it, as I see to my right, probably to your guys' left. And the conference began. Apparently, Gary Bettman just basically said, we're not even having a vote. We're putting a pause to this. There was too many ins and outs of the possibilities that could have happened. You had the Sharks who were closing home games to the public. That's basically now obviously out. That was going to be for all of March. You had the Columbus Blue Jackets also closed all their home games to the public. That's obviously now we're closed. The other major ones in here, though, NBA has obviously suspended all operations as well. That was the major kicker. Rudy Gobert was tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. Now, we'll get into this a little bit more here in a few. I want to get into a couple of other things. There was the videos that have been going around where he touched the mics. He did all that kind of stuff. And yes, it is true. There's a few other reports out there of other things that he did in the locker room, saying that he touched other people's bags. He, was touching other people's locker stuff, just maybe wallets and phones in general. We will get a little bit more into detail on that, but the NBA has suspended all operations immediately. That was yesterday. This morning, it was reported that Donovan Mitchell is also now contracted the virus. It is pretty bad for the Utah Jazz. They were in quarantine at the OKC arena. OKC was allowed to leave after a while after being checked. Then it became pretty apparent that this was getting pretty serious, especially after the NBA 4 minutes later, after the whole Rudy Gobert and the game was basically canceled, basically put an end to the NBA season. The Utah Jazz had to stay at the facility until everything was all done. And it became basically a mess from there. I've lost basically the reports if they've gotten home. There's too many reports to basically go through. I do believe they are now in touch with the Utah officials about what is going to happen next from here. So I'll give you all the information I can after that. But it is not looking good for the Utah Jazz, especially because now you have two people who have contracted it, and because of the joking that Rudy Gobert was doing, which is not a fucking joke anymore, obviously, is it, Rudy Gobert? And if you follow me on Twitter at North Sports, you will understand exactly what I am talking about. And like I said, we will get to that here in a bit. Some other news. NHL is basically all done. Daniel Regani is a Juventus footballer, has also tested positive. That was happening before Rudy Gobert. This is probably the other reason why MLS has put a suspension for 30 days. We're probably going to see an update on that as well in the next coming days, probably to 60 days to indefinite. The other side of it is UEFA has basically just postponed them all. All the soccer games in Europe are postponed. The ones that are continuing to go for the next little while will have no fans in attendance whatsoever. So many of these players are a little mad because they would rather play with fans and take the chance. But this is past them now. This is not an H1N1. This isn't the swine flu. This isn't anything like that. This has now become pretty big. This is a pandemic. So this is out of the players' hands. It doesn't matter how many millions and millions of dollars that you have. You cannot buy your way out of this. So we're seeing other reports just outside of sports as well, that a lot of the Ontario schools are, what is this here? Forces the extended school March break for 2 weeks. So the kids are basically staying home for an extra 3 weeks to a month, it looks like. So schools are canceled. Back into the sports, though. Golden State Warriors were the other major one, but obviously with the NBA suspending all operations, that doesn't matter. Mariners will not play any games in Seattle was the big one this morning, but I can now tell you that the MLB is scheduled, or was scheduled, to have a press conference. Theirs is probably just finishing up. They will be addressing, if not already have. I've been following more of the NHL, NBA, and the NFL this morning instead of the MLB. I apologize for that. That is me not doing my job. But I have a kid that just got born the other day, so bear with me for the amount of news that I actually have. But I do have some other ones that are pretty big here. Getting back into hockey, think of all hockey operations basically done. WHL complied with the Washington State crowd ban 2 days ago, which is now obviously led into the OHL, WHL, ECHL there, and all hockey operations just in general in the States and in Canada are suspended as well. The NHL basically started that trend, and a couple hours after they announced that, everybody else started following. So No hockey whatsoever, no fans. Everybody is going home. That is the one question that everybody is asking right now too, is where are all these NHL, NBA players going? They're going home. They are being told that they are not allowed to fly anywhere, but like TSN has said as well today, these are grown men that you are asking to not send anywhere. You're asking them to just, stay put. After all this breaks, they're not going to. They're going to leave. And this is what causes the stir. This is the craziness that's going to happen. Because we cannot tell yet how long it stays on anything. If it's contracted through, well, we know it's contracted through touch. But the contractions and the way that it's spreading and stuff like that is causing issues because we don't know too much. And the sporting industry doesn't know too much, and we can thank our fucking North American leaders for that. And if you do not like the way I'm talking, go to a different show and a different podcast, because this is the North Sports Podcast where we talk the truth and nothing but the truth. And I do not hold back, and you in the comments cannot hold back either if you want to. You can say whatever the hell you want, however the fuck you want it, because that is the way we do it here. Okay? Gary Bettman, in my opinion, I have another theory on that. What has happened in the last 24 hours? I have a theory of why he's doing this now and not doing it in the next couple of days. And we'll get into that in a few. Trying to get back into everything here without taking you guys too much time. PGA Tour postpones the Indian Open. Looks to postpone everything else here. Possible reschedule of the tournament. No fans. The tournament that was going on today obviously has fans. I just had his name. Phil Mickelson made an appearance to a few reporters after a round and talked and basically, said he did not want to get anybody sick and this, that, and everything else. National Lacrosse League has suspended the season. The breaking as well as about an hour ago, this is pretty big as well, the UFC Khabib and Ferguson fight is canceled until further notice. That is huge, ladies and gentlemen, huge. Some of these events being canceled, I never thought would happen in my entire life. This is absolutely insane. Couple of small ones before we get into a couple other ones. Actually, another big one. MLB has postponed the preseason, and then that got updated to the MLB has suspended all operations basically right now, just in general. There is no MLB spring preseason. There's nothing. It's canceled right now. The big four being NBA, NHL, MLB, and NFL all have been in a conference call, as reported by Pierre LeBron and TSN today as well, have all been in conference calls going over what has been going on, what they're supposed to do, and it's not good, but they're doing their due diligence, not to say in a bad way now, but they're doing it now, and they're doing it the way that they need to, okay? They are teaming up together. They're not allowing one person or one league to dictate what the other leagues are going to do. No. This is this league and this league working together to try and figure it, and this league, all working together to try and figure it out, with the MLS right underneath being like, whatever the hell you guys do, I'm going to do too. Because we want to be the Big Five. And eventually they will. So MLB is canceled. The other thing that you guys can basically understand here is the March Madness. That was the other big one. March Madness, if the NBA is canceled, you knew March Madness was going to happen. March Madness went from no fans going to be at the games to a few teams actually pulling out of the tournament today as well. Duke and another pulled out. And once you see Duke pull out and saying they're not going to play, nobody's going to play. So NCAA, at first it was the Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC tournaments were canceled. They were going to do without fans, but that got updated today. No March Madness whatsoever. Australian Grand Prix has been canceled as well. Will be moved to a different date. Lewis Hamilton was not happy that he was even there. That was a pretty interesting video today as well, to see all those drivers. There will be no fans at the next NASCAR events at Homestead and Atlanta. That is probably going to be updated by the end of today. I will post that onto the page if anything changes. World Figure Skating Championships in Montreal canceled. All sporting events that you can possibly think of is canceled. The last remaining games are probably going to happen, and that's it. There's probably the KHL, for crying out loud. Putin's fucking league is even looking at suspending operations for quite a while. And when I mean quite a while, I do not mean that this is going to be a 2-week break. A lot of people think that this is supposed to be a 2-week break for sports. It is not. This is going to lead into a couple of things that I want to talk about. One being the Rudy Gobert situation and the Gary Bettman. I'm just going to write those down quick so I don't lose that. Gary B. Okay, so this is going to be a possible, what did they say? To put in perspective, this is 4 months, ladies and gentlemen. 16 weeks, 16 to 18 weeks. Yeah, I just had to do the math in my head quick. This might be a 4-month, this might be a whole summer thing, ladies and gentlemen. This for sports. This we're just talking sports here, okay? This could be a 4-month situation where we have no sports. And if we don't have any sports with this long into the season, one, we as Canadians are going to get mad because we don't have hockey, especially because you got a lot of these teams that are in playoff contention who are now out, and there's still 11 to 13 games to go for some of these teams. So, but let's get into this Rudy Gobert situation. And a lot of people are probably still wondering, why would I follow you on Twitter to run at Rudy Gobert? Well, Rudy Gobert was caught on Monday touching reporters' mics, making a joke and making a mockery of this. Now, a lot of people have. I have made a joke of this. My family has made a joke about this. My friends, people at work, people around the world have made jokes about this. It is different when you are not a political figure, when you are an athlete who is on TV all the time. Doesn't matter who you are. You are defensive player of the year. Defensive player of the year. You are going to be noticed. You are not just some scrum underneath. If it was a scrum underneath, we would have it a whole different conversation, okay? You were caught on your mics. You rub your hands on them. And then you have your own reporters coming out and saying that you have been touching backpacks of other players, their lockers, their belongings, acting a joke and making a mockery of this. The issue is, my friend, the issue is you did this, and you did this to yourself. You are like 7'2". It's not like you could just walk around and this be unnoticed. You're not just a hockey player. You're not just a undersized player. You are Rudy fucking Gobert. I even knew who you were before all this. And you made a joke of something, and the problem of what is going to happen now is your joke is going to be on TSN top 10s for life, for ESPN top 10s for life. You're probably going to have your own documentary about you because you possibly got your teammate Donovan Mitchell infected with this virus because you made a joke. And I shouldn't be this mad that you made this joke, but the problem is you made the joke and you got caught on video. Okay? You made a joke and you got caught on video making this joke. That is the issue. You can't think that you are off scot-free on this. It doesn't work like that. And that is why people like me want to hold you, Mr. Rudy Gobert, accountable for your actions. Because you cannot just make a joke like that and have your players get infected and basically, like, congratulations. I love the memes going around where you should be defensive player of the year for like the decade, for the fact that you stopped 4 to 5 major sporting franchises from operations. Congratulations, defensive player of the decade. I'll give you that. That is going to be a long-lasting joke. And for you, it shouldn't be. And you know what you're going to do? When this is all said and done, you're going to be upset, and you are going to sit there and be like, I do not want these jokes. This is harmful to me and my situation. Why is no one thinking of my situation? Do you want to know why people are not thinking about your situation? It's because you made fun of the situation. So how are we supposed to feel for you? How? It makes no sense. None whatsoever. Okay? You need to be suspended indefinitely. You need to be suspended for a year when NBA gets back up. I do not care how harsh that sounds. You need to be held for these actions. What if one of your players gets a massive health issue from this? There are people who have gotten clean from this. By clean, I mean have passed the sickness. Get down with the sickness. And they've gotten past it. But they have issues like scarring on their lungs, kidney issues, liver failures. These are issues that happen after you pass the coronavirus in some cases. These are healthy athletes, yes, but it doesn't just necessarily mean you are immune to it. So why do you think it's still fun? Do you still think it's funny to joke about it? You have not been on Twitter. One of my posts looked like it was taken down and then it wasn't, so I deleted that actually. So that's me. But you did this to yourself, Mr. Rudy Gobert. And you can't go back. You can't go back from this. There is no fucking way. And many of people may at me, troll me, how can you give this guy, this much crap for this, that, and everything else? Because you are a basketball player, you make millions of dollars, you made a joke about a virus, okay? You're not going to make a joke about HIV, you're not going to make a joke about starving kids in Africa, you're not going to make jokes about that, but you're going to make a joke about a virus that we do not know anything about and people have died from. 200 people in 24 hours in Italy. 200 people. I think the total is like 900 and like whatever. Why? Why do you think it's such a joke? Should be held accountable. Saying it on record right now. Indefinite suspension. 1 year. Gone. No pay. No nothing. I don't care how harsh it is. That's just the way I think. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. After, if you're watching this right now, I can't really tell. If you watch this later on, put your comments in there. Gary Bettman. That's the other quick thing I wanted to get into. We're about to have 4 weeks without basketball, NHL, MLS, baseball, all that kind of stuff is canceled. The NFL I'll get into in a second. But Gary Bettman, you, in my opinion, have done something pretty damn smart. Let me go to the standings here for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not saying Gary Bettman would, wait. The NBA, if you read the reports, if you read these reports that are out there, the NBA was already willing to put a pause on this before Rudy Gobert got infected, before the game even happened at Oklahoma. The NBA was 2 days in advance ready to pause operations for quite a while. Obviously, once Rudy Gobert tests positive, lights the fire under their ass. There's no questions. We're done. Especially if we're not even taking the next 24 hours to say we're going to cancel. Go out, say it. We're canceling it right now. That's it. Okay. What if on both ends, basketball and NHL? Okay. NHL is obviously sitting there debating not doing it. Why are they debating not doing it? Okay. Gary Bettman is a lawyer. We know very damn well that the NHL is not a money-making sport necessarily when it comes to the big men. They obviously make more than the MLS. They do not make more than baseball. They do not make more than basketball. And they sure as fuck do not make more than the NHL. Okay? Or than the NFL. Okay? So, what do you have to do to generate money? If you know that the possibility of your league going into a lockout for a bit here, a pause, right? And you don't know how long it's going to be, but you need to play out that playoffs, okay? There's 2 ways that you can do it. And both ways come from the same thing. You wait and you see. You see where you're at. You know this is coming. You got like a week gap, maybe a couple of days extra, Mr. Bettman. And you make sure markets that you do not want to lose money are currently sitting in playoff contention. If you look, it does suck that your Islanders are not in there because New York is a big market, and it sucks that your Rangers are not there. But you still got Carolina and its fan base. You still got Columbus in there. That's where your market has been for the last few years because they've been a playoff team. So you need to keep your market. I get you. Smart. When you got Toronto that would play Tampa Bay in the first round. Ooh, that would be kind of nice. Wouldn't it be also really, really cool to see Philadelphia and Pittsburgh play in the first round? Oh, that fucking rivalry, man. Oh, I got you, Bedman. I got you. So why don't you look on the west side? Why don't you look on the west side? Whoa. That's where this mess has been. That's where this mess has just been jumbled with a bunch of stuff. Okay? What are two franchises that don't really give a crap about their team because they don't really expect them to be there? Hell, let's even put 3 teams in there. Okay? Can you take a guess? 3, 2, 1. Vancouver, Minnesota, Arizona. Sorry, Canuck fans. Sorry, Coyote fans. And sorry, Wild fans. It's the truth. When the Wild make it to the playoffs, that's just been the plan for years. Make the playoffs. It doesn't matter if as long as you make it to the playoffs, you have a chance. You made one Western Conference final in that whole years of playoff appearances that you did. Congratulations. Not really getting you anywhere. Vancouver. The only time you got a fan base is when you actually have a stacked team, you're in first place, and you make it to the playoffs because you have a big market. But unless you do that, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get your fan bases back. And Arizona, who the fuck cares about the Coyotes except for me? I don't mind the Coyotes, okay? Problem and all that. Who's your bigger market? The Jets, because the Jets are just a global team. A global team. They may be a small market team in Manitoba. They may be a small market compared to everybody else. But they're still sitting at the 12th most expensive team in the NHL, if you went to go buy it. And they still draw in attention. They draw in a fan base. Then you got the Predators, ladies and gentlemen, who are currently sitting in the last wild card spot. What about Nashville? Is there really Nashville fans? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Nashville is the biggest growing city in the States in the last 3 years. Where do you think all their fans are coming from? Everywhere. They are the last 2 wild card spots, ladies and gentlemen. You don't think this isn't coincidence in a small little way? You don't think Gary Bettman made sure that when he was going to put the pause, that if they had to do a playoff structure later on, that it's not going to make sure that he still makes money? Because the NHL doesn't. He's not dumb. He's an idiot, but he's not dumb. There's a difference. I might be the idiot, but he's not dumb. Okay? I mean, he's not an idiot. He's dumb, but he's not an idiot. He's smart. Edmonton and Calgary in the first round, you don't think that's going to generate money? You don't think that's going to generate money? You don't think Vegas versus Nashville or Vegas versus Winnipeg in the first round wouldn't generate money? I think it'd be Vegas versus Winnipeg. There's a rivalry right there. Colorado versus Dallas, Nashville versus St. Louis. These teams know each other. He's not an idiot. He's not an idiot. Okay? Call me out on that if you want. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I don't necessarily think he did it this way, but I think in the last 48 hours, he looked at it really, really hard, and he's like, if this is the way we have to do it, this is the way he's got to do it. The second thing I was going to say about it is doing it this way, and if you can't do a playoffs, then you just got to start the season next season. But the other side of it too, ladies and gentlemen, is when there has been stoppages in sports, which I have a couple of lists here right now, okay? You got the top 5 that I've seen here is you got the National Football League in 1982, Major League Baseball in 81, Major League Baseball in 84. That's obviously with the Expos. You got the National Basketball Association in 98. And then you got, your National Hockey League in 2004. Those are some of the major ones, okay? What do they all have in common? They have stopped a lot of, really good teams from winning. Obviously, is the first one. But they aren't around a virus, first of all. Okay? These are just major stoppages. Disagreements on money. Disagreements on everything like that. Okay? The one thing everybody agrees on right now is the safety of the players. The safety of the freaking players, ladies and gentlemen. This stoppage is going to affect their bank accounts. Because you have to play in order to get paid. So this goes into the NFL. The NFL right now is obviously on a break. Their season is done. This is now time for teams to be scouting for their next prospect, which, as you guys have seen on my mock drafts and stuff like that, that's what this season's about. Problem is teams are now calling back their scouts. They can't go scouting anymore. It's a problem. This coronavirus is really taking a toll. So what does that mean about the upcoming draft, not only for the NFL, but the NHL? The NHL is about to have its lottery picks. But teams are not going to want to they're not going to want to get into this. They're not going to want to put themselves in the draft process because they do not know when the season is going to start. They do not know if this pause is going to put them into a hole in the summertime where they have to play out this season and then start the next season right after. They don't know if this season is basically canceled and you have to start a new season whenever it is allowed. Nobody knows the answer yet because we do not have all those answers yet. We just know it's on pause, okay? But we do know that the NFL draft is more than likely going to be either canceled for fans, which is going to suck for Vegas, or it's going to be by phone. It's going to be like the 70s and 80s all over again. To be honest with you, if that means nobody getting infected, and that means we can kind of end this virus spread as fast as we can, do we not owe it to them to try and do it? You know? The draft was supposed to happen at the MGM Grand, I believe, and it's supposed to happen in the Pond, and people are supposed to get boated over to it, to the stage, get drafted, once you get drafted, and all that kind of stuff. They're not going to do that anymore, ladies and gentlemen. That hasn't been confirmed, but I can guarantee you they are already talking about it, which I've seen reports on Twitter. Follow me at North Sports. But they're not going to have the players be exposed out there. They're not, ladies and gentlemen. If they do, I'd be surprised. The NHL is not going to allow that either. I can tell you that much for sure. There's so much about this, especially with the NFL, because it affects the CBA agreements, because they don't know if it's going to affect this season. It's already been pushed back by the players for voting, so we know that it's probably going to get pushed back again. It affects the draft. It affects your franchise and transition tags. It affects your free agency. It affects everything that the NFL is about to do. It affects my Buccaneers, for fuck's sakes. The longer we wait on a quarterback, the healthier Jameis Winston gets, and the more chances we're going to just take him back. We don't need to do that, okay? But it also means other people can get healthy. I get it. But at the end of the day, using my Buccaneers as an example, a lot of teams are sitting in positions where if you pulled the trigger on something right now and you don't know the outcomes or even how the season is going to progress later on down the season or later on down the road, you're probably just going to waste those franchise tags or those draft picks. It's inevitable. So why even bother? And that's why everybody is sitting here right now. That's why Brady hasn't admitted where he's going to go. That's why there's only been a handful of players that have agreed to where they're going to go, because they can only go to teams that actually have the cap space. And the teams that only really have the cap space are, the Buccaneers, the Dolphins, and from what I understand, the Cardinals a little bit have cap space. I actually have that list right over, there we go, right over there. And nope, not the Cardinals. Sorry, my apologies. The Cowboys. Cowboys, if they let everybody go that they need to resign, will have a lot of cap space. So it's a really hard game to play, ladies and gentlemen. It's a really, really hard game to play. The other point I wanted to get back to that I originally tried to make, and I forgot about, was the physical advantage of teams that practice during these breaks. So back in 2004, back in 94, 93, when it came to MLB, NHL, for two of those cases, these players were practicing and training while other teams were just sitting at home, sitting back and stuff like that. And a lot of the times, it looks like we had a report by Rudy Gobert, or somebody who, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that looked like it was breaking. If I had my other flipping remote around me, I would just rewind it, but I can't. They practiced while the season was basically not going on, while they were told not to. So when the season started again, they were already in major physical advantage over the other team. And a lot of teams got mad because they was like, you should be held accountable for this. So watch for that to happen as well. That's an inevitable situation that's going to happen with the NHL and the NBA. Especially with these players wondering if they can even practice at their own facilities. The Maple Leafs especially are asking about this. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. This whole situation is insane. To put a blanket on everything right now, essentially, is what this show is titled today. Sports is canceled. Doesn't mean I'm going to cancel this podcast, this show. No. I will have content for you almost every week, ladies and gentlemen. You can sure as shit know that. I promise you. But the problem is it's going to be a little bit difficult when there's no sports. It's just going to be updates and theories and stuff like that, which is going to be nice to have. I can get into those. I'll have some time to do it. But I wanted to tell you about some of these, finishes, getting down to the wire here with some of these teams for playoff spots. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Sports is canceled, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, let's get a pack here open. You know how we do it here. I love me opening packs. Oh, that smells good. Bought myself a Champions pack. Wanted to give myself a little bit of variety for you guys. And these Datsyuk packs were just very nice. So let's check out what we got here. Oh, just to give you an idea here, this is the 2012-2013 season. No series one. Doesn't actually say what series. But we got ourselves a Nick Johnson. Oh, we got ourselves the franchise Gordie Howe. Oh, that's a nice one, actually. That looks like to be the winner already. I'm putting that right there, as much as I want to keep that. We got a Tim Connolly, Thomas Plekanec, haven't heard that name in a while. Mark Streit, Alex Tanguay, TJ Gallardi. Some just scrubs. No, I'm just kidding. I'm a scrub. You should see me skate. So today's big card, ladies and gentlemen, is the Gordie Howe, the franchise score. And we're going to add that to the collection of cards. So we got 3 cards and a pack in there, ladies and gentlemen. You want to win that pack? All you got to do is share this video, share the other videos, okay? Tag 3 friends in the comments if you want to get your name into it again, okay? Just get this show out there to a few people, okay? We're still in demo mode, and especially with the sports being on pause right now, okay? It's in jeopardy. Looking like, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. MLB opening day delayed at least 2 weeks. So the MLB is putting a suspension on it and actually putting a time frame on it. Spring training officially suspended, though. So they are going to cut back everything for at least 2 weeks. That is breaking as of right now. Everything is muted, so I do not have anything else to report on that, but that is the only thing I can give you. A couple last things before we go. Give you an update on the standings on everything. Basketball, first of all, we only got 3 teams in the East that have clinched playoffs. You got the Bucks first, Toronto second, Celtics third. They have clinched. Heat fourth, Pacers fifth, Sixers sixth. Say that how many times fast? The Nets are 7th, and the Magic are 8th, both sitting 4 and 5 games under 500 respectively. Going to the West, there is only one team that has clinched so far, and that is the Lakers in first. The Clippers are 2nd, Nuggets are 3rd, Utah 4th. My Thunder, are sitting in 5th. After everything, doesn't really matter, especially if the season is canceled. Rockets are currently sitting in 6th. Fuck you, Harden. Mavs are 7th, and the Grizzlies, are sitting in 8th. Okay, that's the standings of the NBA before this suspension. So if we get back into it, ladies and gentlemen, that looks like where the playoffs will stand. Same with the NHL. We already went through that. This draft process, like we said, is just going to be completely different. We'll probably get a news and information on that in the next upcoming weeks. So keep informed as much as you can. Keep look out for my page. I'll keep posting as many things as I find on Twitter to keep all of you fans and you Canadians informed as best as I can. And stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll have an update on what is to come with the rest of everything that has been going on. The last 48 hours, now probably 72 hours, has just been absolutely insane, ladies and gentlemen. I really don't even know how else to explain it to you. This is not something that anybody really saw. I don't think anybody really expected this at all. We just hope and pray for the health and well-being of all the athletes that give us the pleasure of playing the sports that we love and putting on the jerseys and the logos of the teams that we adore. We hope that they fucking get through all this, because all of us are worried. There's a lot of other things that have just come out, and we don't need to get into that because it's not sports related. If you want to get updated on the COVID-19 and rest of the things, check out your local news or check out the news just in general on Google. Remember, if you have any symptoms, stay home. Don't go anywhere. And this is just intense, ladies and gentlemen. No sports. Whatever there is sports, I guess we're going to have sports updates on that. So, no betting lines for the next couple of weeks either, because it's going to be everywhere. We'll probably get into that in the next couple of weeks. Get into a couple of theories in the NFL. We'll keep you updated on that, especially the offseason, and let's see the best that we can do. This has been North Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm your host, Andrew Fulbert, and stay tuned for next week when sports is still canceled, but we'll be here letting you know what the fuck's going on. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.